So everyone can tell in these videos how weak I am. Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking with Kimmy, and today in our very special Christmas episode, we're going to make fruitcake. So this fruitcake is not your traditional fruitcake. It's more like cake with lots of fruit in it, if that makes any sense. I know fruitcake is very polarizing, but with this recipe, we're trying to make it really accessible and tasty, and we hope you guys try it and see how not that hard it is. I was gonna say easy, but it takes a while, so I could be lying. So the first step to making our fruitcake is obviously the fruits. While we make the batter of the fruitcake, the fruits are gonna soak in some hot water. What this does is just rehydrates the fruit. That way when we put it into the batter and it bakes into the cake, it stays juicy and moist, and it doesn't like get too sugary and chewy. We're using a majority of dried fruits here. Actually all dried fruits, as opposed to like a mix of dried and candied fruit. I don't really like the way candied fruit tastes or feels, like those red and green nuclear cherries. So we chose to omit that from our version of fruitcake. So here I have five kinds of dried fruit, and these are the dried fruits we'll be using today. You can use however many or whatever kind of dried fruit you want, as long as the measurement kind of adds up to the same amount, which is 7.5 cups of dried fruit. I like using red fruits. I don't know if that's like a thing, but it's like here we have raisins, dried cranberries, prunes, and dates. I like the flavor of these all together. Then the apricots I use less of, just a cup in total, just for the color and some more sweetness. The raisins, the cranberries, and the prunes, they're all 1.5 cups, and this is a total of 2 cups of dates. The dates and the prunes and the apricots, obviously they come a little bit bigger than the raisins and the cranberries, so you just want to roughly dice them or chop them up like you see here. Whoa, flew. So I'm gonna mix all the fruits in this large bowl. Just put everything together. Yay. Getting a bigger bowl just because we are gonna cover these in some hot water, and if the bowl's too small, the water might spill out, and I don't wanna have that happen. So I'm just gonna give this a little toss, and then we're just gonna cover this in hot water. But we are gonna drain this before we put it into the cake, so it doesn't matter as much, just as long as it's covered. And then we'll just set this aside while we make our batter. So the next part of this is our cake. This is a pretty standard vanilla or yellow cake mix. Like I mentioned in the start, this isn't a traditional recipe, so we are making kind of like a standard cake and adding all the fruits in it. So first we're gonna start with 2 cups of softened butter, 1.5 cups of white sugar, right? Yeah. Wait, can I double check? 2.5 cups white sugar and 1 cup dark brown sugar. Then we're just gonna cream this until it's light and fluffy, and you'll be able to tell that it kind of not doubles, but it increases in volume and lightens in color. So we'll just let that go for a bit. And this step is like very, very important because this is what's gonna give your cake lightness. As you can see here, it's only been like a couple of minutes. It's still like kind of dense and not that fluffy. I'll just show it to you now. This is not where you want to be. There's a big difference when it's like super light and airy, and then we'll show that to you when we get there. Okay, so here you can see the difference. It starts sticking to the side of the bowl, and it's way lighter than it was before. It's not as yellow, and it's kind of doubled in volume. So here I have a tablespoon of vanilla extract and 8 eggs. So we don't want to add all the eggs at one time. We're just gonna add them 1 to 2 at a time. Wait for it to get incorporated into the butter, and then keep going until all the eggs are inside. This is also an important step when you're making cake. Always scrape down the sides because there'll always be like a part on the edges that the mixer won't get to. Here we have our dry ingredients. So we have flour, whatever, baking, baking powder and salt. So I'm just gonna whisk these together before putting them into the batter. So here I have our dry mixture and I also have milk. We're gonna add these two things into the batter, alternating. So I'll just whisk this in. So 3 additions of this and 2 additions of milk. So we'll start and end with the flour. 1/3 of our dry mixture in first. And you just want to do this on low speed so that your cake doesn't get tough. So I'll add half of the milk. This is gonna be sketchaloo. Okay. Stop. Like just when it's combined, stop the mixer and then continue. You're really looking for it to be super fully combined when everything is already in there. At this stage, you're just incorporating it like that. Words. Wala nang words. So this is at the stage where we want to mix it until everything is well incorporated. So we're not looking for any pockets of dry stuff here. And stop. Okay. So as you can see, there's some dry stuff collecting on the sides, but the stuff in the bowl is pretty well combined. So at this stage, I like to remove the bowl from the mixer and then finish it by hand. This way you kind of ensure that you're not overworking your dough, your batter with the paddle in the mixer. Yeah. There. Okay. So there's that. And then we're gonna bring our fruits back. And here I have some chopped up walnuts. So before we do anything else, we're gonna drain this, but we're gonna save the liquid because we are going to make a simple syrup to soak the cake in later. And we're gonna use this liquid because we already have it and it already has a lot of flavor. I think people might wonder at this stage, like, why is there no alcohol yet? Because fruitcake, like main characteristic is that kind of soak the fruits in alcohol. There's alcohol in the batter. I just don't like messing with this yet with alcohol. So the reason for the simple syrup, that's where we're gonna add our rum and kind of soak it in. That way you can kind of bake the cake without compromising the texture, but also you get like a stronger alcohol flavor, or can adjust it like how you want it. See, the fruit has been soaking ever since we started making the cake, so for about like 15-20 minutes. You can see that it's softened and gotten plumper. There's no nicer word. Let it drain. See, we're gonna keep this for the syrup. Like just from the color alone, you can tell there's a lot of flavor in there. Seems like a lot of fruit, but like, you know, it's not cake fruit, it's fruit cake. Yeah, it seems like a small bowl also. These things are just falling apart. YOLO. Do we really not have a bigger bowl here? Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties. So you just want to fold it in until the fruit and the nuts are like well dispersed, evenly distributed throughout the batter. Here you can see I'm like a little bit more than 3/4 of the way up. We greased our pans with oil and then covered them in a sheet of parchment paper and then put more oil. The reason why I do the parchment paper with these wings is so that it's easier to kind of lift the cake out. It just helps you later when you're tired of baking. We're gonna put them into a 350-degree oven where they're gonna bake for about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how your oven works. You kind of just wanna check them at an hour. And if a toothpick in the center comes out clean, then you can take them out and we'll continue with the next steps. But while they're baking, we're going to make our rum simple syrup. This is where the alcohol in the recipe comes in. So a simple syrup obviously is normally equal parts water and equal parts sugar. This is a little bit different. As you can see, I've reserved 1.5 cups of our soaking liquid. So with that, we have 1 cup of sugar and 3/4 cup of rum. So to make the syrup over medium heat, I'm just going to add our water, so our soaking liquid. This has been flavored with all of those dried fruits, and our sugar. And then we're just gonna cook this until the sugar dissolves. And when the sugar is dissolved, we're gonna bring it up to a boil and let it boil for about 2 to 3 minutes, just to thicken a little bit. And then we'll take it off the heat and stir in the rum. There. So now our syrup has come to a boil. We'll just turn the heat off and take it off the heat. Kind of stir it to let the bubbles die down a little bit, and then we're gonna add in our rum. Woo, woo, woo. Just kidding. You'll wait for it to cool completely, which it will by the time our cakes come out, and then we'll do our next steps. So here are our fruit cakes. They've just come out of the oven and have been cooling a little bit for about 10 minutes. And then I transferred our rum simple syrup into a squeeze bottle just because it's a little easier, but you can always use a bowl with a brush or a spoon. What we're gonna do now is soak these cakes while they're still kind of warm. And you'll kind of see the syrup rise to the top a little bit, and then it will get soaked in. And then you just keep doing that until you feel like it can't take any more. So, I mean, there's really no science to this. Kind of just, the crack in the middle is actually gonna help you get it to the center. Because if it just had like a smooth domed top, what would happen is your syrup would kind of fall to the sides and you would get really wet edges, and the center would still be completely dry. So this is why, I mean, don't worry about that. That's a good thing and it's meant to happen. See, as you can see, it takes a little bit longer to look dry each time. That way, and that's how you can tell like it's getting there. And again, like every once in a while, I like to help the syrup move down the sides by just gently kind of pushing it towards the inside, making sure syrup gets underneath. Okay, so we're gonna wait for these to cool completely, and then we're gonna transfer it on platters and slice them up. So our cakes have cooled completely. As you can see, the surface is dry again, but we know that we've put in enough syrup. We've also kind of agitated the sides to get the syrup in there, so we know that it should come out easily. I hope I didn't say that and then I'm wrong. Okay, and then you kind of just ask a friend, anyone, Jerome, can you, while I push, can you put this down? While oh my god, it's gonna fall apart because it's not really cold. No, it's fine. Yes. It's easy because it's cooled completely. But it's hard because it's hot and soft. Okay, so here we have our fruit cake. You can put it on a platter and decorate the sides. I have more dried fruits here. So here you see the cross section. It's like fruits bound together with a little bit of cake. You can see the nuts. You can see that it's fully hydrated because of the color. If you were to cut into this without soaking it in a lot of syrup, it would be a lot paler. Maybe like you see that tiny section there, how it's like lighter than all the others, but everything is like, it's my slice, so I can do whatever I want with it. So thanks so much for watching our version of fruitcake. We hope you liked our video, and if you make it at home, let us know in the comments below. And have a basahan in the hand. Like and subscribe, and Merry Christmas! Yay!